The NFL world just exploded with one of the wildest stories of the season, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what happened on the field. We're talking about backroom dealings, luxury box conspiracies, and a potential blockbuster trade that could reshape the entire league. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime himself, just dropped a bombshell that has everyone from casual fans to hardcore analysts losing their minds trying to figure out what's really going on behind the scenes. What should have been a straightforward celebration of Shedeur Sanders' historic NFL debut has turned into a full-blown soap opera involving team owners, alleged trade negotiations, and family drama that makes reality television look tame by comparison. Because Deion didn't just attend his son's game like a normal, proud parent. He spent the entire afternoon in the luxury box of Mark Davis, owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, the very team Shedeur was playing against. And then, in a move that sent speculation into overdrive, Deion publicly thanked Davis for showing what he called unbelievable class with the hospitality. Let's break down exactly what happened here, why it matters, and what this could mean for the future of one of the most promising young quarterbacks in football. Because this story has layers upon layers, and the more you dig into it, the crazier it gets. Shedeur Sanders made his NFL regular season debut for the Cleveland Browns against the Las Vegas Raiders. And he didn't just play well, he made history. He completed 11 of 20 passes for 209 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in a commanding 24-10 Browns victory. More importantly, he became the first Browns rookie quarterback to win his debut start since 1995, breaking a 29-year curse that had haunted the franchise through countless quarterback failures and disappointments. This was supposed to be pure joy for the Sanders family. This was supposed to be about a young man achieving his dreams and proving he belongs at the highest level of professional football. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski immediately named Shedeur the starting quarterback for the upcoming Week 13 matchup against the San Francisco 49ers, giving the rookie the ultimate vote of confidence. Everything pointed toward this being the beginning of a beautiful relationship between Shedeur and Cleveland. But then, the details about where and how Deion watched the game started emerging, and suddenly this feel-good story transformed into something far more intriguing and potentially explosive. Deion Sanders didn't sit in a regular suite with family and friends. He didn't watch from the stands like other parents of NFL players. Instead, he spent the entire game in the personal luxury box of Mark Davis, owner of the team his son was actively competing against. Think about how absolutely wild that is from an optics perspective. The father of the opposing team's rookie quarterback, sitting with the owner whose team is trying to beat his son. That's not normal. That doesn't happen in professional sports without some kind of significant reason or relationship that goes beyond simple courtesy. During his post-game press conference, Deion went out of his way to publicly acknowledge and thank Mark Davis for the hospitality. But it wasn't just a casual thank you. Deion specifically emphasized how unusual and generous this gesture was, stating he was thankful for just being allowed to sit in a box with the opposing team's owner. That phrasing is critically important because Deion is acknowledging this isn't standard protocol. This is exceptional. This required special permission and represented a massive departure from how things normally work. When someone as media-savvy and intelligent as Deion Sanders makes a point of publicly highlighting how unusual something is while simultaneously expressing gratitude for it, that immediately raises massive red flags and questions. Why did this arrangement happen? What was discussed during those several hours that Deion and Mark Davis spent together? Was this really just about good sportsmanship and hospitality, or was something else going on? The speculation hit warp speed almost immediately. The most obvious and widely discussed theory is that Mark Davis and Deion Sanders used this game as cover for having private, extended conversations about a potential trade that would bring Shedeur Sanders to the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you really think about it, the setup would be absolutely perfect for that kind of sensitive discussion. You're in a private luxury box where conversations can't be overheard. You have several uninterrupted hours together during the game where you can talk freely without arousing suspicion because you have a completely legitimate reason to be in the same place at the same time. You can discuss contract terms, organizational vision, roster fit, coaching philosophy, and all the intricate details that would need to be worked out for a blockbuster trade, all while maintaining complete plausible deniability because you're just two football people watching a game together. The Las Vegas Raiders are absolutely desperate for a franchise quarterback. Their situation at the position has been unstable for years. They've cycled through Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, Aiden O'Connell, and now Gardner Minshew, none of whom have proven to be long-term solutions. The organization is clearly in rebuild mode, trying to figure out how to become competitive in a brutally difficult AFC West division that includes Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And here comes Shedeur Sanders. Young, talented, charismatic, with a famous last name that would sell tickets and jerseys like absolute wildfire in a market like Las Vegas. The son of one of the most recognizable and marketable athletes in sports history. A quarterback who just proved in his debut that he can handle NFL pressure and deliver in meaningful games. From both a football and business perspective, Shedeur Sanders in Las Vegas makes enormous sense. He would instantly become the most high-profile and marketable player on the Raiders roster. He would generate massive media attention and fan interest in a city that thrives on spectacle and celebrity. The entertainment capital of the world getting the son of primetime? That's a marketing department's absolute dream scenario. The timing of this mysterious meeting becomes even more fascinating when you factor in the recent insider reports that the Cleveland Browns front office is already considering drafting another quarterback in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, despite Shedeur's successful debut. If that report is accurate, and there's no reason to doubt the credibility of the sources who broke the story, then Cleveland is already creating instability and doubt around Shedeur's future with the organization before he's even played a handful of games. Why would Deion Sanders want his son in an environment where the front office doesn't fully believe in him and is already planning to draft his replacement? Why would Shedeur want to spend his career constantly looking over his shoulder, fighting for his job with every draft class, never having the security and confidence that comes from organizational commitment? If Cleveland isn't going to ride with Shedeur long-term, then it makes perfect sense for Deion to start exploring other options and having conversations with teams that would provide more stability and support. Mark Davis has a well-established reputation as an owner who makes bold, unconventional moves and isn't afraid to go against traditional thinking if he believes something will benefit his franchise. He moved the Raiders from Oakland to Las Vegas, one of the most massive and controversial relocations in sports history. He's made high-profile coaching hires and hasn't hesitated to make major changes when things aren't working. If Davis believes Shedeur Sanders is a franchise quarterback who can lead the Raiders for the next decade, and if he has the opportunity to acquire him through trade rather than gambling on an unknown college prospect in the draft, it's entirely plausible he would pursue that aggressively. The public nature of Deion's thanks to Mark Davis serves multiple strategic purposes simultaneously. On the surface, it's simply polite acknowledgement of hospitality. But it also publicly establishes that there's a relationship between Deion Sanders and Mark Davis, which lays groundwork for future interactions. It sends a clear message to Cleveland's front office that other organizations value and respect the Sanders family in ways Cleveland apparently doesn't. And it creates public awareness and speculation about a potential Shedeur Raiders connection, which could benefit everyone involved depending on how this ultimately plays out. Las Vegas would be absolutely perfect for Shedeur from a marketing perspective. The city is built on star power and personality. Shedeur Sanders embodies exactly the kind of celebrity athlete that resonates in that market. The Raiders already have a passionate fan base, but adding Shedeur would elevate the team's profile to another stratosphere entirely. Jersey sales would explode. national media coverage would skyrocket. Sponsorship opportunities would multiply exponentially. From a pure business standpoint, this is a match made in marketing heaven. The football fit is also compelling. Las Vegas has talented skill position players who could benefit from competent quarterback play. The defense has shown flashes of being disruptive. The coaching staff is still figuring things out, but they're not completely incompetent. If the Raiders solve the quarterback position by acquiring Shedeur, they could accelerate their rebuild dramatically and become competitive much faster than continuing to cycle through mediocre veterans or developmental prospects. The trade compensation required to acquire Shedeur from Cleveland is the big question mark. The Browns used a fifth-round pick to draft him, so they don't have a massive sunk-cost investment. However, after his successful debut and the buzz he's generated, his value has increased significantly. Cleveland would likely demand at least a first-round pick and possibly additional compensation. The Raiders have draft capital and could potentially assemble an attractive package, especially if they believe Shedeur is substantially better than anyone available in upcoming drafts. Cleveland's perspective is complicated by those reports about drafting another quarterback. If their front office has already decided Shedeur isn't their long-term answer, trading him while his value is high after a successful debut might make cold, calculated business sense. They could acquire significant draft capital to either move up for their preferred quarterback or address multiple roster needs. It's ruthless, but it's exactly the kind of move NFL front offices make when they don't believe in a player. The impact on Shedeur's development of being traded so early would be significant. New offensive system, new receivers, new coaching philosophies, new organizational culture. All of that creates challenges for a rookie already facing a steep learning curve. However, if the alternative is staying in Cleveland, where the front office is planning to replace him, where organizational dysfunction has destroyed countless quarterback careers, then a fresh start in Las Vegas with an owner who clearly has interest might actually be better for his long-term success. The Deion Sanders factor cannot be understated. His influence on his son's career is substantial and will play a major role in any decisions about Shedeur's future. Deion has been incredibly protective of both his sons throughout their football journeys, ensuring they're in situations where they can succeed and where they're valued. He's not going to quietly watch Cleveland undermine Shedeur by drafting another quarterback after one successful start. He'll advocate for his son, have conversations with ownership groups, and potentially push for a trade if that's what's best. The luxury box meeting with Davis could absolutely be the beginning of that process. Browns fans would absolutely lose their minds if the organization trades Shedeur after he just broke a 29-year curse. They finally have reason for optimism at quarterback after years of misery. If the front office trades him away because they're already planning to draft someone else, it would be another example of Cleveland sabotaging itself through dysfunction. The backlash would be intense and could affect ticket sales, merchandise revenue, and overall fan engagement. The broader NFL implications would be fascinating because it would set precedents about player agency and family involvement. If Deion successfully orchestrates a trade through behind-the-scenes relationship building with ownership, it demonstrates a level of control that would make other prospects and families take notice. Future draft picks might demand similar influence over their destinations. Was the luxury box invitation really just generous hospitality or calculated facilitation of trade discussions? When Deion publicly thanked Davis, was he being polite or sending signals? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. A combination of genuine relationship building with an undercurrent of business discussions that could pay future dividends. The timeline adds complexity. The trade deadline passed, so any deal couldn't happen until the offseason at earliest. That gives Cleveland months to evaluate Shedeur and decide their direction. It gives Deion and Davis time to continue conversations. This is a long-term play, which makes the luxury box meeting more plausible as the beginning of ongoing discussions. The media coverage will be substantial because this combines multiple compelling narrative elements. famous father protecting son's career. Historically dysfunctional franchise potentially sabotaging itself again. Bold ownership move to acquire franchise quarterback through unconventional means. Behind-the-scenes negotiations happening in plain sight. These elements create a story that transcends football and becomes about family, loyalty, business, and sports politics. The coaching situations in both cities are relevant. Neither offers ideal stability, but if the Raiders fully commit to building around Shedeur while Cleveland plans to draft his replacement, the organizational commitment tilts heavily toward Vegas. Coaching matters, but belief and support from ownership matter equally for young quarterback development. Other quarterbacks have successfully forced their way to new teams. Deshaun Watson left Houston. Russell Wilson eventually departed Seattle. Aaron Rodgers got traded from Green Bay. In the modern NFL, quarterbacks have more power than ever to influence their destinations. If Shedeur and Deion decide Cleveland isn't right and Vegas offers better opportunities, they have leverage to make it happen. The bottom line is this. What looked like a simple father watching his son's debut has evolved into something far more complex and explosive. The luxury box meeting between Deion and Davis, combined with Cleveland's reported plans to draft another quarterback, has created a perfect storm of speculation about a blockbuster trade. Whether these rumors are real or overheated speculation, we'll discover over coming months as Shedeur continues his rookie season and organizations position themselves for the offseason. One thing is absolutely certain. This story is far from over, and the drama surrounding Shedeur Sanders and his NFL future is just beginning. The intrigue, the power plays, the family dynamics, the organizational politics, it's all building towards something that could reshape multiple franchises. So here's what you need to do. If you want to stay on top of every development in this absolutely wild situation, if you want to know whether that luxury box meeting was really about trade talks or just good sportsmanship, if you want to track whether Shedeur ends up in Vegas or stays in Cleveland, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any breaking news as this story continues to unfold. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think. Was Mark Davis really discussing a trade with Deion, or is this all just conspiracy theory madness? Do you think Shedeur should stay in Cleveland and prove himself, or would Vegas be a better situation for his career? What would a fair trade package look like? We want to hear every opinion and theory. And smash that like button if you're absolutely loving the intrigue and drama of behind-the-scenes NFL politics. This is why we love football. It's not just what happens on the field. It's the power moves, the relationships, the strategies, and the family dynamics that make this sport endlessly fascinating. This story is developing rapidly, and you're going to want to follow every twist and turn as it plays out throughout the rest of this season and into the offseason. Because if Deion Sanders and Mark Davis really are cooking something up, if Shedeur really does end up in Vegas, this could be one of the most memorable and controversial trades in recent NFL history. And you'll be able to say you were there from the beginning, watching it all unfold in real time.